Ladies and gentlemen, big terror news.
Hey, kia ora koutou e te whānau. Welcome back to another Best of Summer 2025-2026 highlights of 2025 BHN review highlight time. October is an interesting one from this year because Chewy was off around the world chasing his favourite band. So tonight you're going to get a little bit of flavour, actually, a little spices, a bit of flavour, because when Chewy was away, we had guest hosts on. Tommy D joined us on one night, and then Brie Elliott came in and joined us as well, talking about Chris Bishop. She had a bit of a run-in with Chris Bishop. He is her local MP, and they had a bit of a run-in, and it left Brie kind of wondering what Chris Bishop actually does day to day. We'll have a look at that. Also, Debbie Ngarewa-Packer joined us, and I think it was literally the day before everything fell over with Te Pāti Māori. And yeah, it's a really good conversation. We're talking about Palestinian statehood, the flotilla, and Māori wards, but it does have a strange feeling to it because if you think 24 hours later, Te Pāti Māori's world had changed, it doesn't put a different context on it, but it gives it a different feeling. And we had, I think, Paul Barlow from memory on that night filling in. So Paul Barlow joins me to talk to Debbie Ngarewa-Packer, and also Duncan Garner. Poor old Duncan. He did try to clap back by having a crack at us because we mocked him. And yeah, I'll give you all the details before we play the clip, but it doesn't go well for Garner. Anyway, let's start off with Brie Elliott. She's going to tell us all about Chris Bishop's diary and what he does day to day. Let's kick off the show, though, by welcoming back to the show, I think technically was our very first co-host, I think. We'll check with that. It's hello and g'day to Brie Elliott. Kia ora, Brie. How are you, mate?
Kia ora. Hi. It's so cool, Pat. You have Tommy D and Brie today. Love that.
I might go. You guys can run it, yeah? I'll just leave. That'd be nice. Have a night off. Were you our first? Were you our first guest host?
Yeah.
I think you were.
Oh, you probably had Paul, maybe?
No, I think you were the Monday. I think it might have been the Tuesday.
Maybe it was
Anyway, you broke the mold, and I've seen you kind of hanging around in the chat a fair bit there. What have you been thinking of the co-hosts? Because I know you've seen a few.
Yes, I've been loving it. It's so cool to hear other voices and just to have people coming together to try to socially educate people as much as they can. I just think, it's beautiful to see.
Yeah, I think that one of the reasons we wanted to do this is and this is where I might as well put up Citizen Goals Daily message for the next 443 days at most. Thank you for the super chat. I think we need to unify on some level and get our messaging out there. So this is all a part of it. It's all a part of what we're doing. Now, anyway, Brie, I don't want to say you committed an assault today or yesterday. But there was a bit of a scrap with Chris Bishop online that actually I've seen Tanya Waikato talk about and other people as well. So I thought rather than me kind of plodding through what you did on your Facebook page, maybe we'll just get you on and you can tell us all about this big scrap you had with... Now, I also heard that I could be wrong in this because there's been several people I've seen who have posted something about it, that you got Chris Bishop to take something down. Is that right? As a part of this?
Oh, did I?
No. Okay. Maybe not. Maybe not.
What I'd heard was that people couldn't see his comments on my on a thread, and I was like, oh, that's really weird. And people were sending me screenshots, and I was like, I can still see them. And I think he just went through and blocked a lot of my followers.
Because that's free speech in action.
Yeah.
Kia kaha, national. All right, man. Hey, tell us the situation. Give us the rundown. Basically, give us the audible version of the post you've talked about.
Yeah, of course. So obviously I'm a constituent in the Hutt South, so Chris Bishop is my MP, and I've noticed over the last few months really that he's been posting so many photos, like outside businesses that have been either open for months, like Mitre 10, or which he had no help in putting there, or a restaurant that has opened nearby that most families in the Hutt South probably can't afford to eat at. And it was just really grinding my gears. And he did the exact same thing again. He posted himself at a cleaning company or something like that, just kind of sitting on tractors or something, not really contributing much to my community. So I just asked him simply, do you do anything? Or do you just take photos with people? See, there you go, the cleaning thing.
And he responded to you directly and with
which
haste.
Is great. Yes, because you want your local MP to obviously answer you and speak to the people that he represents. And he replies being like, I don't know who you are, but you don't know the Hutt, and I think you can see it. There you go.
He says MPs visit local businesses all the time, core part of the job. I enjoy going to local restaurants and try and highlight them. So is going to local events. Your major complaint seems to be I go out to events. Slightly odd complaint, as most people I talk to say that they expect their MP to be out and about. As for melling, shows how little you know about it. Not sure who you are, but you clearly don't understand the Hutt. Have a great day.
So the melling interchange in Lower Hutt is a big $1 million project that was started under the Labour government in 2020 as part of the New Zealand Upgrade program. So obviously Labour organised all of that funding and everything. Chris Bishop's taking credit for it. So it's just another example of him not actually providing any tangible outcomes that he's provided for my community. And I just really wanted to highlight that, we see that, and it's really sad, especially for the young people.
So you asked him, did he ever actually do anything or just go to local business for photo ops? Well, I have 7 ministerial portfolios, 2 young kids, and I'm a local MP. Try my best to manage it. To which you said, sounds like you should request delegation for some of those portfolios and give yourself a bit of a break. I enjoy being busy. Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Because I mean, like it's like if you don't know who you're talking to, you might be, and it's not saying this is you, but you might be talking to someone who could be quite a problem for you, just to basically go, who are you again? And even to say that, I mean, that's a bit like saying, don't you know who I am? I don't know who you are, which is a bit awful. Yes. So you basically said to him, what do you actually do? He said lots of stuff. And then you said to him, like what? And he didn't answer. Is that like, you've asked him, as I understand it, for actual, can you tell us some of the things you do within government? The mailing thing, for example, my understanding, and we heard this from Chris Hipkins on Monday night, is that he delayed it to try and get a better deal, and it ended up costing him more to get it done. So I don't know if it's the best one for him to brag home about. But when you asked him, what have you actually done for my community? What did he end up saying?
He said he goes to local events and he goes to restaurants, which is really nice that he has the money to do that. Most of my family has gone to Australia in search of a better life, and those were valuable workers, public servants that would have really benefited the Hutt South. And I know that there's many other people that also feel that way and are seeing their families leave. And I just think it's really sad that he can't even answer with one thing that he has provided for the community he's meant to represent.
I found it interesting as well that when I had a look on his page and I found some of your comments, there was other people from your community kind of backing up what you were saying. I'm not suggesting he is a grifter. A grifter implies someone who earns money off almost being fake in what they do. But there was the element of, you don't do anything, you're in it for the pay packet, blah, 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 blah. So there were some defenders of him as well, but there were several people in there that were sort of having your perspective of who Chris Bishop is in Hutt Valley.
Yeah, I've lived here my whole life. I've been involved in the local community. I've been in local theatres in Wainuiomata, in the Hut, in Porirua, all over Wellington. So I talk to people that are in these situations, and clearly he doesn't. And it's just so frustrating. And yeah, if I have to do it, then fine.
Tommy, I know this is a bit of a kind of direct questions to Brie, but have you got any thoughts or comments on this, or anything in particular to do with this could also involve a conversation around what politicians do in their own electorates as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great. Like the fact that you're clearly getting under his skin, because aside from like what us content creators seek to do, which is socially educate people on social media, we also want to get their attention, and clearly you're doing something that's hitting a nerve. So yeah, it was awesome. I went back and had a look at the whole interaction before I hopped on, and like, it was just like, I do heaps of things, and I go to all these places, and it's just like, oh yeah, cool, bro. Yeah, I thought it was hilarious. Yeah.
Kiwi Bird has got a song for you, Brie. It's Move, Bish, get out the way. Get out the way, Bish, get out the way.
I never thought of that.
You might have to go. What do you call them? National anthems. You call them national anthems? You might have to go and do one. Before you leave us, Brie, thank you for jumping in. It kind of feels quite we've come full circle in the whole kind of 3-week period. So thank you for being a part of that. A question for you. How active politically on the left is Hutt Valley? And I asked this question because we've just done a whole bunch of merch, and we're doing our You Can't Bomb the Truth Away merch at the moment. And honestly, it feels like every third package that we've put together is an address in the Hut. And it's surprising to me. I mean, this is anecdotal evidence. It doesn't really mean anything that you'd have a national MP in an area where, as far as kind of sending out merch from here to all of New Zealand, it would be not just the most per capita, it's probably the most of any one area is Hutt Valley. Is there a secret? Is there something in the water?
Well, at least we can drink our water. That's nice. But I think, I definitely think there's been a change in the ocean lately. I think people are protesting a lot more because they're seeing things that they're not happy with. And like a lot of the ministers' offices are based here in the Hut. So I think it's a bit more visible in the last few years, kind of the impact that they're having on our community. So I think that could be turning people a little bit. I also think some people just voted for him to represent them as his electorate because he's comes across as a nice guy. Every person I talk to is like, oh, well, he's a nice guy. There's a lot of nice guys in the world. But does that mean that they're providing outcomes for our community? Not necessarily. And I think that's what we should be holding him to. So, yeah.
Yeah. Hey, it's been cool to catch up with you again tonight. Tom, you got anything for Brie before we say goodbye?
Nah, nothing more. But thanks for stopping by, and yeah.
Awesome.
There's another merch idea. Little Bish Boy shirt. Apparently, that's from Harvard. That's another one. We could keep on going. Hey, Brie, thanks for being a part of us tonight. I think you'll hear from us again. We'll be in touch because it was great to connect with you and with all these other creators who have been sort of new to our platform. Hopefully, our audience, if they haven't known you guys now, will. And yeah, it's going to be a really big next 12 months. So cheers for coming on board, and I'm sure we'll talk to you again super soon.
Awesome. See you guys. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
See you, Brie. All the best, mate. Thanks for jumping in. All right, team, there you go. That's what Chris Bishop does day to day. What do we do day to day? Well, we make a podcast or two. In fact, I should probably say this because I am going to talk to you about Patreon, and we really do value and appreciate all our patrons. But the thing that's always important to know for our patrons is it's like a buy one, get 3 for free. Because the money that people give towards us for Patreon is not just about Big Hairy News, it actually helps the network. So contribute to Big Hairy News, get Big Hairy News. Thank you for being a part of what we get. And we'll throw in there a frontline, and we'll throw in there a locked out, and we'll throw in there the collective as well. We'll just throw them in because, that's how we roll. If you were looking at it as a business, we're a very good return on investment. We have a very good ROI, don't we? So thank you for being a part of who we are. And of course, this year we're going to change out Patreon a little bit, basically give patrons more. Because you've been fantastic in supporting us, but I think that you guys deserve a bit more. I know most of you don't do it to get anything, but it's important to acknowledge the guys who, and guys meaning guys and girls, who enable us to continue to do what we can do. So yeah, bit of a change out for 2026, nothing too drastic, but you will see it if you're a part of us. And if you're not a part of us, you can be a part of us by simply going to patreon.com/Big Hairy News. All right, Paul Barlow joined us while Chewy was in the UK chasing his band, and he was on with us when we had Debbie Ngarewa-Packer on, and she was talking about Palestinian statehood, the flotilla, and of course Māori wards at local body elections. On Saturday, New Zealand time, we had the speech from Mr. Peters from the UN saying that New Zealand was not yet ready to recognise the statehood of Gaza. On Saturday, we were lucky enough to have Marama Davidson with us live quite soon after the announcement. On Monday night, we had Leader of the Opposition, Chippy, Christopher Hipkins, join us. And what I wanted to do was to be able to give the opposition the opportunity to respond. And so this is the reason we've tried to get three of the leaders on. And tonight we want to welcome to the show a very special welcome to someone we would never forget to leave in the waiting room from Te Pāti Māori. It is Debbie Ngarewa-Packer. Kia ora.
Kia ora.
Just to explain the joke, you said to us before we came on, please don't forget me like Watia did.
Yeah. Exactly
How long did they forget you for out of interest?
Whole show. I'm just unforgettable. Yeah. And then sort of rang up a couple of days. Hey, do you want to be on our show? And I'm like, is this like
I'm still on. You should have said 2 days later. I'm still on hold on the other line. I'm still waiting. That's what you should have said.
Hey, I noticed you guys have got props behind you. My nephew just launched his book yesterday, so sorry, I've got to jump on the bandwagon, and it's
bring it up. Bring it up. Bring it closer. Show it to us. Let us see it. Look, we'll even do this. Say there. We'll even do this. There we go. The Last Living Cannibal.
Yeah.
What's it about?
Yeah, what's it about?
Actually, he's grasped our history in Taranaki around Te Tokowaru era and made it into a novel around a character in 1940 who's crafted off actually our dad and our kukos, and we can see ourselves in parts of the book. He's brilliant. His third book in 3 years. So thank you for letting me do that.
No, absolutely. The
auntie really wants him.
Yeah, the bill's in the mail. We charge. We have a very high rate for our advertising here, Deb. So the bill will be in the mail.
Yeah, no, he's my claim to
slightly cheaper than the
thank you for
platform for
inviting
the
me.
weather forecast.
Sorry, what was that, Paul?
I said the rate here for advertising is slightly cheaper than the platform for the weather forecast.
How would you know what the
I know, and I know that they had a payout the other day to a judge, which I find kind of hilarious for something they said on the air. So there you go. Let's do this, right? Let's do this. We did this with Chippy, but just to get everyone on the same page, let us play 90 seconds, the last 90 seconds. As I said to Chippy on Monday night, there was like 14 minutes of filler and justification, and then there was like 90 seconds of all that really, when I say mattered, meaning the only substance, the only thing people were waiting for was the last 90 seconds. Let's just have a look at it quickly together, just so we know where we're at with the Winston Peters / New Zealand government / officially, unfortunately, on the world scene, New Zealand position when it comes to the recognition of the statehood of Palestine.
And then, like over 150 countries before it, New Zealand's recognition of Palestinian statehood now would serve as little more than an existential act of defiance against an unalterable state of affairs. We are not ready to make that gesture. Rather, the New Zealand government believes that it has one opportunity to recognise Palestine.
I did kind of hope he was going to go into an Eminem bar there. Just one shot. When you've only got one shot, that's what I was hoping.
Palestinian statehood, and it would make better sense to do so when conditions offer greater prospects for peace and negotiation than at present. With a war raging, Hamas still in place, and no clarity on next steps, We do not think that time is now.
So there you go, Deb. It's pretty cut and dry what they're saying and what they want to put out there. So you can just response. The response is yours. You can have the talking stick for whatever you want.
Oh, yeah, cool. Thank you. I mean, first of all, he said it in his very first, 10, 15 seconds, the gesture. This was always going to be about the gesture. And, what we have is the government has, and it's completely seen this as a gesture, having a state as some sort of dry diplomatic act. And it's actually deeply symbolic. It's deeply part of acknowledging a state which includes humanity, dignity, the right for a people to exist on equal footing with everyone else. And I think this government, and we're not surprised, but hugely disappointed and grossly embarrassed by the fact that, he separates state recognition, and this whole action this whole gesture does from human recognition. And I think that's what we all wanted. For Māori, and other Indigenous people, this just hugely resonates because the recognition of tino rangatiratanga isn't just about borders, geographics. It's actually about affirming mana and affirming the existence and the humanity of a people. And colonization has taught us that when you deny sovereignty, it's actually to deny humanity. And that's what we all witnessed. And I think if anyone else wants to say it any different, is that we have a government that when a people was at its absolute lowest and the most desperate humans can ever be, in an international community, this twat of a minister and an absolute gross idiots of a government have decided that self-determination, the recognition of these humans of Palestine as humans don't exist. That's what we all witnessed.
A little side note about the word twat. Obviously, we would agree with you, but coming from a politician, I'm interested as well because, in fact, I'm sorry, I'm going to throw you under the bus a little bit, Deb. I was texting with Deb on Sunday, and she said, "Oh, hopefully I'll have got over all my swearing by then." And I texted back, "No, you can come and swear on our show. That's fine."
It's the internet. You're allowed to swear.
You and Marama at the last election at the leaders' debate were kind of treating Winston quite nice. Mātua, high-fiving each other. It was. I'm not saying it wasn't combative because you were trying to win, but it was friendly. Do you feel at all different around him now because of this, or is it just that's Winston being Winston?
I mean, first of all, when you're we were being smart, to be honest. Just even calling him Mātua was not done in a respectful way. It was done in he's a kaumātua. And I think it was more about recognizing the fact that, as women, we were having this mātua in the room. So, yeah, I don't know if it was respectful. I certainly wasn't feeling it towards him based on some of their policy cordial. But I think the question of do I see him the same as what we saw beforehand? I see anyone that has used their sphere of influence to show and continuously show this immoral consistency or moral consistency. I absolutely see them low, about as low as I see Shane Jones trying to mine our seabed. And I think, that's, I can't unsee that. I can't unhear what went down in front of the world. Everyone else gets out when the Israel Prime Minister, whose name I refuse to say, stands up. And Alex was sitting there like this, like, I'm up next. His whole language, the tone of his language is like he's sitting at the races. There's just I mean, I felt like I was watching the, what's that dude, the emperor with no clothes on? And he's just trying to, overstate his comment, overstate his presence, overstate. I'm just like, Mātua, you're in front of the whole world and you just took the moral level, the moral compass of Aotearoa down the lowest we could ever be. You are a country made up of our own Indigenous people in tangata whenua. We are a nation that has shown, a very young nation, what it was like to have colonization, to actually have our own people not recognised, to actually have people saying, we will snuff them out and all these sorts of things. It's just like, and here you are refusing to acknowledge those lessons when applying them to somebody else. So I think there's dignity in international law that we just dropped. The bar just dropped lower than low.
Two little things, and I'll throw to Paul. First, as a comment, I also liked how, I think it was John J. Campbell said to the Prime Minister on Monday morning, but going by your rationale, Ukraine doesn't fit in with the criteria for recognising statehood. So are we going to de-recognise Ukraine, which I thought was a brilliant point. But the other thing I wanted to know, and you've kind of just touched on it, being Māori, being tangata whenua, do you think this hits harder? And are you more impacted by this than some blimmin' rodeo clown like me who kind of sees the world in a different way?
I think, we're all descendants of the Tiriti here in Aotearoa. Me as tangata whenua, you as tangata Tiriti. I think we all are intertwined in the trauma of colonisation. Sure, my ancestors felt it and lost everything, but we're actually all part of the de-traumatising and trying to make this country the best it can bloody be. And having learnt those experiences, your role to de-traumatise and to not repeat that as one nation onto another is just as important as my feels. And so I think I don't want to assume that my pain is any less than another person who's a mama who's watching the babies or who's a husband watching the wife. I think, humanity for all of us and seeing it, the degradation of it as we're seeing now, is really important for all of us. But what I will say is, as a survivor of colonisation, and and the Taranaki Tribunal report has said, survivors of Holocaust, I absolutely empathise with the fact that we have the opportunity to help alleviate and add to those who are fighting against settlers and the settler colonial mentality. And it's not a war. It's disproportionately not a war. I get so annoyed when I hear people say, "Oh, we'll let the Hamas hostages go." Okay, absolutely. 22 versus 12,000 that are detained, that are held without any trial. Like, that's just the disproportionate killing and murdering, and the way that things are going are just absolutely something that this country should have understood. And so it's really, really hard when Winston's taken a stance that reflects that traditional Westernized caution and colonization to actually see him any different. And I think for many of us in international law and global practice, that we need to be more humane in conflict. And I think, the conditions, I think he put about 6 reasons why, what was the word he used? The viable reasons that we can't support them. There really is a precondition for peace is actually to remember what we had come from. And I think a precondition for peace is to see everyone equally as humans.
Yeah.
And
No, very true. Yeah. Paul, jump in, sir.
So I'm kind of curious about a couple of comments that people have flicked me on the topic, going, one of the reasons that Winston can't stand up in front of the United Nations and say, look, this is horrible, and we see the Palestinians as a country and give them statehood, is because it would mean he would need to acknowledge colonization itself, which is something that this government is not particularly good at doing. I'm really curious to get your perspective on that kind of parallel between, what we're doing on the world stage as a country versus what they're doing on a national stage as the coalition in charge of making all the decisions.
Yeah, and I think that's, thanks, Paul. I think that's actually what it comes down to, is that why would a government, and I've seen lots of comments because I put out a pretty hearty video, and I never make apologies. It's my platform. It's actually how I connect and express myself. And one of the things I had come back is that, why did we expect him to be, and this government to be, any more humane when they deny inequities, which comes about because of colonisation? They've done everything they can do to end the peace here between us in race relations and rights and interests. And I think, I guess you just hope that we're going to behave better away from home. You just hope that how cruel you are at home is going to be dropped when other people are there, being ruthlessly slaughtered and displaced and, deliberately starved. And, it just, I guess that's probably the real pit in my puku, is that there was just no way that we were going to be able to see any resolve and a position for Aotearoa to have at least hold our heads with a little bit of pride that you may get it wrong at home, but surely you're going to get it right for others. So, and I think it's that right wing, the whole Atlas, I don't say this enough, the way that everything's been grabbed, the reliance on the media, the reliance on America, the reliance on the relationship, security relationship, the whole FBI coming into Wellington. It just mirrors, sadly, that we are just another state of the US, which is just another state of Israel. And let's just call it what it is. This government has defaulted our mana, our tino rangatiratanga, our identity, and that's what we saw play out on Saturday. I have no hope for this government, which is why it's got to be one term, whānau, one term. Seriously, it's got to be one term. We're all going to have cracks. We're a party with growing pains, everyone, but we've all got to do everything we can do to make this a one-term government, and you've got to trust in those that have a heart for our country, because I don't believe. I mean, so when I put my post up, we got bots galore, and it's just hilarious because they only bot on Facebook because that's only the age group only know how to go on Facebook. They don't bot on all the others. But I guess what it showed us is that they actually have to engineer a system and pay a system to take us all on. When you believe in something, you let it speak for itself. But they actually had to bot it all out. So yeah, I just think there's only one way out of the situation, which is I'm really glad to, the Greens and us have always been really staunch about the sanctions, been really staunch about what it is that we need to do. Get that Israel ambassador out of here, get the US, nonsense out of here, get rid of Judith Collins. But, what we need to do seriously is leave no doubt that this government cannot ever be in again. None of them, neither of the three. They've just got to go.
How do we then get to a point, because you might be able to bring this up on screen, Pat. I think Gold put up the number of maximum days until the next elections. That's around 400.
This is just so people know. This is every night. Every night, Citizen does this. He has the countdown for us. The very most it's going to be, they may call it earlier, is 444 days, says Citizen Gold. So in other words, is that last date it has to be by. That last date is 444 days. A lot of damage can happen in 444 days, Deb.
Yeah.
444 days.
That's till the last possible date. The last possible date.
At the most. And then we have the election itself, and, it takes about 20 days to get the results in for that. And then the government gets formed, and, God willing, it's not the lot that we've got at the moment. But that's still looking at a long time before we'll have a government in place that can actually sit there and make those sanctions and can make those moves to get rid of the ambassadors. And a lot of damage can be done in that time overseas, in Gaza itself. How do we as a country, as people, sit there and go, put pressure on the coalition at the moment to change things, to try and make a difference in the lives of people who are being impacted by this before that really long process works its way through?
Yeah, I think, and it's been really interesting because I'm going to tell you this. I don't think national supporters support this government stance. And the reason I say that is because everywhere we go, I'm not hearing, hey, I'm hearing, I used to vote national. I will never vote national again. I helped get this government in. I did not expect them to get in with ACT or with New Zealand First. I did not know.
Look at the polls. Just look at the polls, Deb. The polls will tell you that part of a huge section of their support have gone elsewhere. The thing is, where will they go next year? That's the question.
Yeah, that's right. And I think the first thing that we have to do is just remember that this is a humanity crisis, and the solutions for us and what we need to do is about all those connections, not just in here, outside of here. That's how, remember when New Zealand, I think it might have been national, sat with apartheid. And I think this is what we should be doing, is that we need to make sure that we are doing everything we can alongside other allies. We just have to. We have to be able to support and fight for the protection of, for example, what we see going on with the flotilla. I don't think, everything's going to come from within us to stop what's going on with our government. I think the way that we're doing this is that we have to be continuously aware and alert of what it is that we do to help this. And I think that is, again, the power of the people. I want to give you all the solutions, but the way that we've seen this humanitarian crisis and this open-air prison is about the way that we look after each other, the way that we continue to have and support those who put themselves on the front line, the way that we continue to bring about pressure on those who are either standing in local government, regional government, as we're doing at the moment. They've all been questioned. And I think the way that we continuously bring shame and highlight the way that this government's doing. But it is really frightening. There's only 6 more people that we need to support Chloe's sanction bill. Just 6 more politicians. That's all we need. And I think those have to be looked at, not just inside the House, but the wider context of what we do in a humanitarian ally situation. And it's not going to happen from in Parliament, but seriously, not while we've been run by a whole bunch of Zionists. It's just not. And I think you guys are really important and part of that picture, people like yourselves.
Thank you for that. I mentioned this the other night, and what you're talking about and getting involved, is the quote that I mention every now and again that Chloe said at Waitangi, which is, if you don't do politics, politics will do you. So get involved or else get run over. And whether it's internationally, like we're looking at right now, the flotilla live heading towards Gaza, or whether it's your local body election, which we're going to talk to Paul about a bit later in the show. If you don't do politics, politics will do you.
Paul and the mess that they're doing there. I spoke to Rana and Samuel, and he's 18 and a half. These are our ones from Aotearoa, and he's 18 and a half. We did karakia, and they've been singing Te Aroha and things like that. And I just kept thinking, look, you mess of a people that are ruining our nation and our whanaungatanga with each other. Our babies are out here cleaning up your mess and doing everything they can. And I'm so proud and also so worried and what it is that's going on there at the moment. But I think it's just really important that we continuously think and rethink and come together for what it is that we do next. That's what I've seen been going on in the entire time that we've had to have this layer of the battle in freeing Palestine. It's just amazing commitment, and it's so sad. Now, I think it's been great. Lately we've heard Labour come really strong out, and I think we needed to have that. And I think, again, the left bloc are really consolidating and getting strong on that messaging of what it is that we will do. And I think we have to be really clear. We've got to get in. It's the only way we're going to end this. And I wish I'd have a snap election and make it earlier, because we just come out of a by-election. No, not really.
Next year is going to be both fascinating to observe and incredibly important to get involved in for the whole year. I think we're thinking about kind of starting again at Waitangi is probably the plan at the moment, and that's probably going to be the kickoff for us, I think. Well, we'll see. Not quite there yet, but we're just trying to organise some things. Paul, I sent you a text. Did you get that text? Just in case you haven't seen it?
Just now?
Yeah, just read the text. It's a message from me to you. A little quick question about the Winston Peters thing as well. He didn't seem to be really completely corpus mentis when he was delivering that speech. I don't want to, I'm not trying to talk about, I'm not being ageist, but over 150 countries before it. Who says 150? 150? I mean, how's Winston going when it comes to, being, I'm actually asking a genuine question. I'm not trying to take the piss, but not being as sharp as he was.
Yeah, I think, one of the things we've noticed, and I think that's sort of why we saw old J.R. Shane Jones be made the deputy, is because he is no longer doing those long speeches. I don't know if you've had a look, but when he hasn't done a 10-minute speech for quite some to he's still very witty because we sit right beside him now. Oh, the dynamics are just wonderful. And to be really honest, there's a lot to learn from his style. He's so quick when it comes to the point of orders and so quick, but still extremely witty. But if you really watch him, he's not doing the long things. He's And I guess, it's the same age as my dad. So, yeah, my papa's, stopped being, he doesn't do pai stuff now like he used to. So, yeah, but still extremely sharp. But I guess too, I'm going to try and say this as respectful as I can. You feel like you're debating and hearing from someone who was born a long time ago and who was born in an era where there's been lots of change. And you feel that, like, sometimes, like, I've got aunties who are 70s and 80s and they live in households with 2 or 3 generations and they're still really upbeat and they're still like, because I think those rangatahi keep them going, and they, their conversation, the whole way they view their tolerance for rangatahi, and actually the acceptance of their mokopuna is really beautiful. You feel like you have a person that is, has been born 80 plus years ago and not really been in company that's grown or challenged him. He's been the top of his game. He commands that top, but he doesn't have, a whole bunch of rangatahi or kids bowling into his house. He takes to kura that he goes out on wānanga with, the hanas that, just grow us all the time. You just get a sense that, sadly, he hasn't grown past this certain era. And I guess that's what I see. So you see the bigotry, you see the discrimination, the revolting anti-trans, the stuff, because again, he represents an era, and he's not been tested or challenged in real life by 100 mokos and rangatahi at a kura or kohanga bowling in on his office. He's commanded a presence and a state, and he's a statesman that has been very sterile. It hasn't had his whole environment's been very manicured and very set, and that's what you feel like you're around.
Yeah, he's always sat in the big chair for the last 30 or 40 years. He's always been in the big chair.
Yeah, and that's an honor. He's worked really hard. I'm certainly not putting that down. Just, I think, I can have a conversation, for example, with my auntie Bib, who lives with her granddaughter and her great grandchildren, who has a daughter coming in and out, who goes to Pātea Māori Club with us, who's da-da-da, and she's just upbeat. Her whole, language, she knows what's going on with everybody. So her whole depth of understanding and humanity, her empathy, her kindness is just different. Her tolerance for things is just, and I think that's exactly why we need to have mechanisms and support to help bring other thinking into that place, because it's a dangerous place if you've always been in the big seat and you don't have anyone else around you. You're untouchable, and and that's not a cool way to be governed.
I actually think if you've got a sec, Deb, because Paul is pretty onto it with the local body stuff, maybe you and him could have a chat about Māori wards, because I'd be interested to hear that. But before you do that, just to respond to what you've said, it's that idea of, if you want to have like a healthy progression in life, if you're the smartest person in the room, it's time to find another room. You know what I mean? And then if you're the smartest person in that room, it's really healthy to find another room so you can learn and grow and that sort of thing. But Paul, I
have a view. We learn until the day we pass and then continue. And I guess that's just, it's just how static your mind is and your growth. So you can be really great at something if that's all you're in, but I want to be great at lots of things. So anyway.
So if that's okay, Paul, I'd like to throw you the ball and see if you've got we won't keep Deb for too much longer because she's given us a lot of time already, which is lovely. But if you've got a question or something around the local body, this would be a great time.
Yeah, well, first of all, have you voted yet?
No.
Oh, Paul.
And actually,
Paul.
No. I've got my orange envelopes over there, and they're actually waiting for me. And I'm going to tell you why I haven't voted. I'm not making excuses, but so they want me to do a video of when I vote. And then I've got to do this, and I've got to do this reel, and I've got to do all these things. I think, why can't I just go and chuck it in? So it's, it's a bit of that. And so tomorrow there's a bit of a reel being made that Fire Deb's voted. And it's really embarrassing because my daughter's standing here for local community board, and she's like, Mum, have you voted for me yet? Mum, have you voted for me yet? I'm thinking, okay. So my staff are back to do the reel, the video tomorrow. So that's why. Geez, that was that was a really long. You really caught me out, Paul.
Well, see, for me, that's a really big thing, though, because it is because it's a postal ballot election. You know, it's old-fashioned. The system doesn't work anymore. It needs to be upgraded, and a lot of people are in the same boat. I'm going to get to it at some stage. And to be fair, my voting forms are also sitting on the table because I've been doing the research on Tamaki and going.
Me too.
Yeah, so I'm as guilty of it as everybody else in this conversation. But I want to just sort of remember and remind people that, you know, first of all, you can still vote. You've got a week to be able to get things into the post for it to get back to be counted.
7th of October.
Māori wards, 7 days for the postal service, but you can do drop-offs and stuff like that right up until lunchtime on the 11th. When it comes to Māori wards, I sat through and watched the select committee process on this. It was overwhelmingly against doing what the government has done and forcing this referendum onto councils. The people that I've spoken to on councils are livid because, you know, this is an extra expense. This isn't something that they felt they needed to do. There seems to be no mandate for it. And now they're up against places like Hobson's Pledge doing the whole stealing people's images and going anti-Māori wards. You've got people who are running in these wards who are really specifically having to battle against, you know, please give me a job. Also, please make sure I've still got a job next election to run for, because that seems to be falling on them. I'm really curious to get your perspective as the leader of Te Pāti Māori about the whole thing, to be honest, because it feels like a mess, like it's been rushed through to me.
Yeah, I think thanks for that. At least I can answer that question. So what I have seen, and we've been really complaining in my electorate, there are 3 that haven't been included, 1 in Taitonga, Opotiki, and around in Ikaroa-Rāwhiti. Anyway, long story short, the whole process of having physical, you know, pamphlets and having to drop them in has meant that you're extremely reliant on everything getting into those booklets and pamphlets or voting forms. And in Māori wards, for example, we've had a whole of the Māori ward councillors be missed out. Some of them who were successful in Nelson and Manawatu have been missed out. But the problem is that they're needed to be in there so that those who are doing the referendum, because they remember that's what's on at the moment, are able to see, oh, there are these people in these seats, and oh, I know that person, so therefore they may actually support a referendum. And what we've seen, and I've put in tons of, we had questions in the House to the ministers, I've put in tons of written questions, and actually Ken Mea last night and a group of our electorate issued and have put in the district high court in Wanganui papers to actually say there should be an injunction to stop this referendum. If people are missing, it's actually not a valid process. Something's wrong, and they should be reviewing it before they go and do any more. And I think those are some of the things that we're seeing are going to make this process flawed. They've made it difficult for people to be able to understand. And I think there's a real apathy before some of those electorates that actually those wards that aren't even voting, because it's, you know, it should be electronic, for goodness sake. But even then, there's an assumption that people can go in during working hours, or that they have fuel to go in. And some councils have been absolutely dynamic and doing all sorts of, you know, weird dances and TikTok things to try and get the the voting rate up. But a lot have done nothing. So I think the inconsistencies, government put the referendum on the regions, on the councils, and it's been up to them on top of running a process with a minimal budget to sort of try and make it work. Something as important as our referendum for Māori wards should have had a hell of a lot more investment. There should have been a hell of a lot more promotion at a national level coming out of central government. And I feel real aroha for those candidates who are not only just going out to try and say, vote me, they have to also sell and make it, you know, understandable and relatable to their community what Māori wards are, and deal with the referendum. It's been a really atrocious process, and it's been manakied and looked after with a lot of great candidates' goodwill, with a lot of iwi, with a lot of amazing tangata tariti who are supporting the wards and the way that they've gotten all out there. Andrew Judd's been championing some massive movement to counteract the slobs and plodgers. But, you know, I think those are, things that shouldn't have to happen. There should be equity and equality applied in anything that is so important to us as a nation. And it's just been an absolute train wreck. So, yeah. I just see a comment here, got your tan this week. Yeah, that's really interesting that you guys believe with. It's like, leave me alone. I may be white, but I'm not. You know, it's just like, and I think that's what we're sort of seeing is this attitude that people are getting more. They're taking something away from something, and so then we get a bit nasty and start to dig in, and I guess try to find spots that make people, be more divisive and look at why you would want that. The reality that I can see is, why would you not want your iwi or Māori at the council table, bringing about their expertise, the fact that they're a lot more successful than non-Māori economically, the fact that their perpetual funds are outperformed council perpetual funds, the fact that they have a younger generation, therefore a lot more of those coming through to sort of stay at home and work and invest and buy in invest in their own people and buy into the commitment needs to sort of take people for sports, care for the elderly. I just think, why would you not want a richer council? But yeah, that's just sort of, I guess, the hard work that I see Paul going on in the Māori ward space, and it's been tough. And I'm supportive of what Ken Mayer and them have done with issuing that paper, because I actually agree there should be an injunction. If only 4 or 5 councils and more have actually stuffed up the process, it should be stopped.
See, one of the things that really annoyed me, I was watching a Meet the Candidates event in Palmy, and they've got a young councillor there. I think his name is William Wood. Young Nat, speaks very well, very passionate about what he does, from a farming rural community. And he was asked about Māori wards, and his response was, I love the Māori wards. I love the people that we're dealing with. They bring in so much expertise. They have different connections, different ways to the community. I absolutely see the value of them. I'm not voting for them, though, because reasons go.
Why?
And it's so frustrating to see that kind of like rigid camp that they feel that they have to be in sometimes, because it's just not something that they feel they should vote for. It just
it's bizarre. It made speech. Every MP did a mihi. Nearly every MP, new MP, did a mihi. But when it came to the reo, when it came to Māori wards, when it came to actually giving Wairua giving substance to that Māori language that they used in their maiden speech, doesn't apply. It's just, and I think Hannah has a really good saying, like Māori are globally hot, locally not. I keep repeating it because I think this government has really brought that to life. But we just got to keep harmonising and keep focused on the strength of unity and what it is that we can do together. And it's not easy. And I think that's what they sort of count on. Like we kept sort of saying, and we saw this during the by-election with Orene, is that our people have had, all of our people, by the way, have the submissioned out, the select committee out, they are activation out, they have had to sit there and whoever thought we'd have to be fighting for Māori, for disabled, for woman equity, for our reo, for our land, for our taiao, and whoever thought that we would have to have so many battles going on. So then when it's come into the Māori wards, as that sort of eases into the end of a very long, hard year. I mean, if we lost an MP, we'd had the longest bloody suspension. Everyone goes, "Oh, you guys got issues into Pāti Māori." I think you think like who hasn't? And I think this is what we've got to be okay about saying, is that not every community is up to mobilising for another thing when they've had to mobilise and deal with so much else on the ground, including surviving. So we just have to keep going, and I think it's about another 7-8 days to try and push everyone to vote, and us three get our bloody envelopes in.
Hey Deb, you've been far more generous than you needed to be with your time. We appreciate you jumping in. Are you okay for one question from the chat?
Yeah, of course.
There's actually two. The first is just a comment from Spiderhoof. Spiderhoof just wanted to say, kia ora, Deb, as always. Love you, mahi and kōrero. And can't wait to support you in Te Pāti Māori for your 2026 win. So that was just a message. But Tiffany's got a question. Tiffany says, Debbie, I whakapapa to whenua kura. I want to know what Te Pāti Māori will do if the moderates of Labour kowtow to Luxon and go bipartisan on exploration off our whenua. Surely a coalition would be a matine? Matine, that means sick, doesn't it? Or dead?
Yeah.
Am I right? Yeah, so a coalition wouldn't work.
Tēnā koe whanaunga. I'd say Ngarewa is your iwi and possibly Whenua Kura Waiaturi your hapu. Whenua Kura, actually, his marae are one of the staunchest that have been opposed to seabed mining, still have their billboard up as you drive past. I think the question is what would we do if Chippy goes into the whole exploration space with Luxon? Is that what the question was?
Yeah. So if they walked across the aisle and supported it to, I can't imagine they'd do that, but if they did.
Yeah, it's really hard to know. I mean, this is what I know we would do. And I know our whole thinking for next year is the significance, and I get that people are spooked out by us. The significance of the Greens and Te Pāti Māori working together is that we are the only two that oppose seabed mining. We are the only two that have been really open about our views on exploration and our views on renewable energy and our views on renewable energy that's owned by community, that's equitable for whole communities. And I think, some of these things are things that would be big bottom lines for us. They are, and we must move away from this extractive energy. I like you, when I live in Taranaki, and one of the best things that Jacinda did when she was in government is actually bring an end to new permits. It's a finite source. It's going to freaking end. And I don't care what Shane Jones says when he goes, mining, it's going to end. What we should have been doing years ago is investing what the alternative energy supply and equitable energy supply would look like and where it would come from. So those are things that we want to shout from the top of the hills and insist. I think that's why Labour needs to have the likes of us, because we're probably collectively more left than the left. But again, it is about having everything lined up, and there were opportunities to do that. This government has taken us back, and some of the repeal that we would want to do in the first 100 days is actually exactly that, and being able to identify where it is that our iwi and our communities have said, don't do this. Our courts, also off Whenua Kura, just so you're aware, Korua, is unprecedented wins that have happened in the Supreme Court to actually agree with us that nothing should be off that coast. So that's what we would bring back to life, and I've actually got a bill drafted to ban seabed mining. And I was disappointed when Labour didn't support my member's bill. I've always said that to Chippy. And I think that's why they need us, us and Te Pāti Kakariki in government with them, so that we can push them up and out.
Hey, thanks, Debbie. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. I appreciate you. Appreciate your thoughts. Appreciate your views. Should we just have one more quick look at the flotilla before you take off to make sure we know that they're still? They're still. I can't see any kind of GPS or anything on it, but they're still floating. I don't mean to sound, that's not a flippant thing to say. I'm like, it's good. They're still floating. Yeah. So this is a live shot. And if people want to check this out, just go to YouTube.
Closest I've ever gotten. Is that what you guys think?
Yeah. I'm not sure, but it's on YouTube right now. Live global sunburn flotilla nears high risk zone off Gaza coast. So. Debbie, thank you for joining us tonight. All the best, and we'll talk to you again sometime soon.
Will you kick me out, because I don't know how to get out?
I'll kick you out. See you, bye. Boom. Yeah. Kicked. Righty team. Thank you, Debbie. Thank you, Paul. Lovely jubblies. I know that we talk about this a fair bit, but just to let you know, one of the reasons we do this is it does help us continue to do what we're doing. I mean, obviously there are costs to what we do. Love our patrons, love you guys to bits, but also people who want to be a part of who we are through our merchandise. Love you guys as well. Actually, we love everybody. Appreciate you, what we do. Obviously, it's summertime. You wouldn't know that in Dunedin, but for most people, summertimes is t-shirt times. We've got a whole range of things now. In fact, you know what happened? I'll talk more about this when we get back. But we did some children's t-shirts for family friends, and I'm thinking, maybe it's time to get into the children's merchandise. Maybe we'll talk more about that when we come back live in 2026. It worked, didn't it? We're live in 25. We're in the mix. 2026. There you go. But also just a reminder as well, the coffee mugs are in there, and the coffee mugs are only $12.95. We've set them real low so everyone can afford them. We're not making a lot of money on them, to be really honest with you, but we want as many people to have them as possible. These hand wash only coffee mugs are in there. Now, we also have a special going on. All you need to do is put Xmas 2025, XMAS 2025 into the promo code at checkout, and you'll get 30% off everything in store except the coffee mugs, because we've got them at a super low price. We're not making a lot of money on. There's not much profit margin there anyway. But they're only $12.95. If you're interested, have a squiz. It's fun. There we go. Cheers. There's one of mine coffee cups just in there. I probably should have shown you that before. Okay, guys, we'll keep trucking now, shall we? I think we should. And Chewy was back from his holiday, and he played for us a clip of Duncan Garner, I think trying to convince New Zealand that the upcoming teachers strike, teachers, nurses, doctors, there was a number of people on strike, was only being done because these people are all selfish pricks and they earn too much money. We mocked him. He tried to have a go at us. We then gave some shade. Now, let me just tell you this. I'll tell you at the end. I'll tell you after the clip what the numbers were like when we came back. It's Duncan Garner. So last week, Chewy decided... The truth is, I'm actually quite a lovable chap. Chewy is a shit stirrer and gets us in trouble constantly, whether it's calling Mr. Plunkett the C word and then getting a barrage of one complaint sent to us, inundated with one complaint, or whatever. Chewy brought this video along last week that he had been sent from someone. And Chewy, do you want to just give us in one sentence, when the person said to you, how exactly did they describe it when they said, have you seen?
Yeah, so first of all, shout out to Holly for sending me the clip.
Holly!
Let's actually find the words because it was really good. But yeah, it was before the teachers' strike.
Yep. Yes.
And
have you seen this shit? Is it something like that? Have you seen this shit?
Yes. Have you seen this fucking bullshit? I'm so angry.
All right, let's see what got Holly so angry. And we played this last week. And I'll be honest with you, we kind of mocked it a bit. So this was Duncan Garner prior to the march, the protest, the mass protest by doctors, nurses, teachers, firefighters supported them, ACC workers in there as well. You know, the public service, that massive strike by all those people. This was Duncan Garner's prequel to that and his take on it. Oh dear. See, that's why you need a producer. Turn that on. Now we go.
This Thursday's strike is an organised mass sulk. It's a piece of national drama. It's pure theatre. So they can all say, hey, we were there. And there we go. We got the T-shirt as well to prove it. But let's call it what it is. It's organised mass chaos to maximise disruption, to make sure the government and to parents and kids and patients, make sure you feel it and see it and suffer in some way. Make no mistakes, folks. It's not about justice or fairness. This is about making families suffer, about making your day more difficult, about making sure that you miss out on something and giving them a 5-day long weekend. That's what they want. It's also about this, extending Labour weekend. Justified? Hardly. Teachers got 30% increase under Jacinda Ardern. 70% of secondary school teachers now earn above $106,000. Don't come on strong, crying poor. Get back and get some results. Plenty of pay increases, and the results year on year get worse. These are the story of the teachers. Let's call it for what it is, mass organised theatre. This Thursday's strike.
So you'll notice that he was only talking about teachers. Well, that's a good freeze frame. He was never talking about... Oh, he was a bit annoyed that you called him a cunt as well, Chewy, so don't do that again. He didn't talk about the nurses. He didn't talk about the doctors. He didn't talk about the ACC workers. He didn't talk about the public service. And he didn't talk about the firefighters. Although in the clip I'm about to play you, he basically takes responsibility solely, just him, for the firefighters getting their settlement across the line. We'll play that shortly. So that was what we did. And we played that. And we had a bit of a look at it. And we had a bit of a laugh at it because, you know, it was worth laughing at. So obviously, I don't know if you got inundated, Chewy, but I got inundated with this clip. Let me show you the title here. Big Hairy Lies.
Oh, Big Hairy Lies. BHL. That kind of works.
Yeah, that's kind of, I quite like it. What they got wrong. Now, I heard you take a breath in there, Chewy. Do you want to say something before I push play, or are you chomping at the bit?
I just want a little bit of context here. We have spoken about Duncan Garner sporadically over the years as we've watched him rebrand this editor-in-chief project that he's got. And what we've watched is his slow slide to the right chasing traffic.
Was hardly slow. We looked at it at the start of this year, and it went from he's always been, remember, this is the man who stated publicly he would have voted for Trump over Biden, right? That's the first thing to remember. So he's always been in that camp. Like, even if he's saying because Biden was a court case, I would have had to, I don't know, but he did state he would have voted for Trump. So he's always been on that more sort of conservative side. But last year, and all you need to do is go and have a look at his YouTube videos, right, to see this. Last year, he obviously had his more conservative than us perspective, and he was doing, a left and right and a balanced show sort of thing, and he was not getting cut through. Start off this year, and I remember we showed his YouTube page in our first few weeks back, and like 8 out of the 10 videos he had just done had Te Pāti Māori on the cover, hopefully looking angry if they could. And they were hitting, as in they were rating. So he found a little toxic vein of gold, and it wasn't I don't think it was a slow twist. It was like December, January, after the holidays, and he found it and he hit it, and he's been mining that toxic vein of gold, for the whole year. And look, if all you're worried about, content creator, is how many views you get, fucking more power to you. Do the worst possible thing that gets the most possible views. Go for it. I don't want to live that life. I much prefer to live the James Coleman experience of life, where he did the best radio show in New Zealand year after year after year, working for Channel Z. Man. Channel Z with the fewest number of audience. It wasn't the focus on the numbers. It was a focus on the quality. And, he's going to make a quip at us being half his size. And this actually goes to show what happened, because last year he had far fewer followers than us. And then he did the stuff around Te Pāti Māori, and a whole bunch of it started there, and his numbers just went through the roof. So what there is evidence of on YouTube is a horrific, toxic audience that will sign up to these sorts of things and grow you quickly. That's what is there available. And you can see that with influencers all over the world and content creators all over the world. The right-wing channels all over the world are bigger than the left-wing channels. They just are. And it's the same here in New Zealand. Platform's bigger than us? Sure. Garner's bigger than us? Sure. Platform took $2 million of investment to get there. Garner took a hard turn to the right to get there. And if that's what they're worried about, the numbers, good on you, boys. I'm worried about a bit more than that. All right. So this is the response. And remember to listen out for the bit that he takes complete responsibility and says it's basically all because of him, Duncan Garner, that the firefighters got their deal over the line with their union.
Duncan Garner.
So my producers have told me that the podcast has been promoted on other podcasts, which I didn't know about. Apparently, that people are loving it, and they're showing it on other podcasts.
Loving it.
It's been highlighted and shown us what the other side looks like. So
hi, Duncan.
What are they on? Who are these guys?
Hey, Pat.
Yes.
Yes. We've had a great show with some great commentary and some great.
Are we leaving?
Thinking.
We finished.
Some really good takes.
Really humble.
Just before we move away from the strike thing for a bit, I just think maybe as a palate cleanser, you need to change your tone, right? We've had great chat.
Oh yes, very humble.
Let's hear the other side.
Just remember, he's about to brag on how big he is, and he's claiming other people who are obviously making jokes are claiming not to be humble. I just remembered this. I talk about the audience that have been kicked in the head by a horse or something. He's about to play that.
Because we did get a criticism that we're not being fair and balanced, right? We had good people on with good opinions and good information.
And now it's the brain damaged? Is that the people who are being...
Yeah.
We're not representing the people who have been kicked in the head by horses. We have to be fair and balanced.
Oh, so this is their attempt at trying to be not so militant left wing.
From an idiot.
Okay.
So we've got Duncan Garner. We haven't talked about Duncan Garner for a little while. So
Thank you for the promotion.
a friend of
You're
mine
welcome.
sent me this
You've got friends.
on Facebook going, holy fucking shit, have you seen this? And so I saw it, and now you have to as well.
Say strike is an organised mass sulk. It's a piece of national drama. It's pure theatre. So they can all say, hey, we were there. And there we go. We got the T-shirt as well to prove it. But let's call it what it is. It's organised mass chaos to maximise disruption. Finally, this podcast makes sense. And to parents and kids and patients, make sure you feel it and see it and suffer in some way. Make no mistakes, folks. It's not about justice or fairness. This is about making families suffer. About making your day more difficult, about making learn something, boys, and giving them a 5-day long weekend. That's what they want. It's also about this, extending Labour weekend. Justified? Hardly. Teachers got 30% increase under Jacinda Ardern. 70% of secondary school teachers now earn above $106,000.
Facts, are they, Duncan? Facts, are they? You're about to challenge us shortly to prove you wrong. Okay.
Don't come on strong, crying poor. Get back and get some results. Plenty of pay increases, and the results year on year get worse. There's your story of the teachers. Let's call it for what it is: mass organised theatre. Well,
so
there we go.
Can we just ask Duncan a question? What about we even just ignore the teaching stuff? Didn't say anything about nurses there, did he? What about the firefighters?
Didn't say anything about
firefighters.
But
let me just stop it there. Let me just stop these idiots.
Sorry, Chewy. What I'd like for you to do, Chewy, is to be prepared for your lesson now. Duncan Garner is about to educate you. I've been educated. I've seen it. He's about to teach you what we should be doing and what we should know about him.
Yeah.
Okay, Duncan.
Let's stop them before they bury themselves in their own shit. For a start, no need to drop the C word. Why don't you call me and get me on? I'm quite happy to come on and debate things with you. You guys will know my number, and you're on email. You must have an email by now.
Not in Dunedin.
I'm available. Even 2 verse 1. That's probably fair now, isn't it? 2 verse 1. What bit of what I said isn't right?
What?
And on the firefighters, you insult yourselves. I had Steve Devine in there, who's a firefighter. You may want to listen to this in the Avondale branch. And it got so tough, he almost took his own life. And he came on with me for 3 hours. I interviewed him. He broke down. And we finally got the firefighters to the table with the government, and they had a settlement.
What?
Because of the interview we did with Steve.
They had a settlement because of his interview, Chewy. That's why the firefighters got a settlement, because of his
Who's
interview.
humble now?
Exactly.
Who's humble
Calling me
now?
lazy. Why don't you guys get?
Oh, you missed that because you told us of being lazy. We just got to be careful to get this bit, because being lazy implies you don't do any work. Kind of like Duncan Garner's doing right now when he's throwing out facts and figures that are wrong.
To the table with the government, and they had a settlement because of the interview we did with Steve.
Yeah.
So rather than calling me lazy, why don't you guys get busier, do some homework, and see what I've actually done?
Okay.
And grow up. And I'm available to come on if you're okay. Hey, but by all means, keep promoting me. I really appreciate it.
Thanks.
What's the name of you got 20,000 subscribers. You're halfway there, boys. Keep trying. Thanks for the publicity.
There you go. There's the you're talking about the arrogance. And look, just let me say one thing, and this is a philosophy I live by. And this is a piece of advice. And Duncan, I'm guessing you're going to see this. So it's a piece of advice. Don't ever brag your numbers. Don't ever brag your numbers. Because then what happens when someone who you're opposing at the moment overtakes you is you look like a fucking goose. Like, it's just not a risk you need to take. Don't put your numbers out there like they mean anything. Because then when you get overtaken, you will be seen as a fraud. Yes, Chewy, I've got lots to show now. The clips and lot, like I've got data and stuff, but you go first, sir.
How much money has gone into Duncan's product there, the editor in chief?
I don't know. I mean, who knows? Rover puts it together. I'm not gonna worry too much about that either. I'm not gonna play kind of the pauper.
I'm just saying that the money that goes into this is organic, because it comes from our listeners as 100% organic earned listeners. maybe it's different for Duncan. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, that was interesting actually, because we did a million views, officially a million views on Facebook last month. Well, actually in the previous 4 weeks. And someone said to me in the chat, it's hard to get cut through if you don't do a spend on Facebook. And I'm like, we've never spent a cent. Like, we've never spent a cent on it. And he was a bit like, oh, well, that's actually quite good then. So anyway, so he has said, what bit of this I said wasn't right. So he's saying, prove me wrong. Now, it's hard to prove him wrong on some things because there's a lot of shit take opinions in there. Shall I give you some of the opinions he said? Quote, organize mass chaos to maximize disruption and make sure the government and to parents and kids and patients make sure you feel it and see it and suffer in some way. That was one of his opinions. Hard to prove it wrong. I mean, I disagree with him, but it's not measurable so much. Other things he said about the strike, it's not about justice or fairness. He also said this is about making families suffer. Because, the whole service industry of nurses and doctors and firefighters and fucking teachers, they're all about just how we're going to make these assholes suffer, because that's the ideology they follow, eh? Now, again, can we prove him wrong? We can debate that point, perhaps. He also said that he's saying this to the people about the strike. It's about making your day more difficult. These are direct quotes from that. I've pulled them out, right? He said it's about making you miss out on something. These fucking right-coded, alt-right, right-wing, whatever they want to be, snowflakes. What are you missing out on? It's about you. It's the reds under the bed. You're going to miss out on something. My God, that child's not doing PE the afternoon at school. Be still my heart. And the other thing, of course, it's about giving them a 5-day long weekend. Now, again, I think, and I'm saying I think, I'm not 100%, but I think some schools, my teenagers didn't have this, but I think some schools had a teacher-only day on Friday. So I think it was like Thursday striking, day off, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Labor Day. Okay, what about the nurses? What about the doctors? What about the firefighters? They didn't have a teacher-only day. Now, those are the things that, you can debate. However, Chewy, these are things that he said, which are measurable. Yeah. Quote, teachers got a 30% increase under Jacinda Ardern. Okay. Quote, 70% of secondary school teachers now earn above $106,000.
Now, am I right in thinking that if we just scrubbed from our brains, as I wish we all could, that these are things that Duncan Garner has said? But these are also things that Judith Collins.
I don't know if she said this. I don't know if she said the 70% thing, because I was like, my bullshit nerve went off, especially because you'll find this funny, Chewy, but a Scale A teacher, a qualified Scale A teacher, their top rate at the moment is about $103,000. So if the most you can earn to be a Scale A, that means you've got no management units, you've got no responsibilities outside the classroom. The most you can earn as a Scale A classroom teacher is $103,000. How that gets to 70% of secondary school teachers earning above $106,000, my bullshit nerve went off. Then I went and tried to research this, and I couldn't find anyone anywhere saying this. Now, maybe I didn't quite do the right Google search. I spent a fair bit of time, but I don't know where that's come from. So let's have a look, shall we? How about we have a look, for example, that teachers got a 30% pay increase under Jacinda Ardern? Well, we've got this thing called the interwebs. And on the interwebs, we can look at secondary school teacher salaries from 1980 to 2024. And on the interwebs, you can see under Jacinda Ardern, year on year, there was a 3.2% increase, there was an 8% increase, there was a 3.5% increase, and this one you can probably give to Jacinda Ardern as well because it was after Chippy just came in. Let's have a look at exactly, and also I did some numbers on this, Joe. You'll be interested in it. I didn't make a graph of this, I just wrote them down, so let me read them out to you. So here's something interesting to know. Like left versus right, how do they treat the teachers? Now, if you go back to the last true socialist prime minister, who is
Mr. Rob Muldoon.
He gave them a 15% increase followed by a 14% increase. So he gave them 30% over 2 years. It's pretty amazing. And then basically nothing. Under Rob Muldoon, their average yearly increase was just under 6.5%. Pretty good. Longy comes in. Check that out. Longy gave them a 40% increase.
Holy shit.
Yeah. And under Longy, followed by Palmer, so this is Labor, right? All the way through, they averaged 9.22% increase. So even though Muldoon was pretty generous, they are still under a Labor government, 9.22% interest. Bolger and Shipley, Chewy. You know your faves, Bolger and Shipley through here. Bolger down to Shipley. National government. Well, under a national government, and as you can see, 0%, 0%. Oh, look, must have been an election year, 7.5%. They average under a national government a 2.4% increase. So you've got national 6.42, Labor 9.22, national 2.4% increase average. That's average per year. And then under Clark, who did the whole 9 years, averaged 3.23%. Global financial crisis in there as well may have impacted it. I don't know, but still higher than the previous national. And then you've got Key coming in. John Key. 2.93, 1.27, 1.04, 0.49. That's just an insult. 212. Under John Key, 1.3% increase. And then under
someone told me 0.49% is your pay increase. Just spit on me. Hit me with bats.
And finally,
drive over me with your car.
Under Ardern and Hipkins, this is an average. It's not the overall, an average of 5.7%. So under Labor, the last 3 Labors, I think, it's been 9.22% increase on average per year. This is on average per year. 9.22%, 3.23%, and 5.7%. Under National for the last 3 terms, it's been 6.42, it's Muldoon, and then it's been 2.4, and then it's been 1.3. So, you know, nothing's perfect, but you can see kind of who's better at it.
He's a little bit out.
He's a little bit out. So Duncan Garner, show me where I'm wrong. What's the quote? What bit of what I said wasn't right? 30% Jacinda Ardern. I'll read this to you. Research from today. Jacinda Ardern was Prime Minister between October 2017 and January 2023. At the start of her term, the top of the trained salary scale for primary and secondary teachers was $78,000. At the end of her term, we were still bargaining the 2023. This is from PPTA, by the way. Bargaining the 2023 settlement, settled in August 2023. So the top of the scale was from the previous settlement at $90,000. But if we generously carried on into Hipkins' leadership, so still Labor government, the top of the trained scale, salary scale, was just before the 2023 election was $95,400. That's an increase of 22.3%, from $78K to $95K. So Duncan Garner said 30. It wasn't 30. If you are generous enough to include Hipkins, it's 22%. Now, you might still go, shit, that's pretty good. However, according to the Reserve Bank calculator, CPI inflation between Q4 2017 and Q4 2023 was 25.1%. If teacher pay had kept up with inflation, the top of the scale should have been at 97.6 thousand, so 97,600. So they got 22.3%, which still didn't keep up with inflation, which is 25.1%. First of all, not 30%, wrong. Second of all, still didn't keep up with inflation. Next. The claim was 70%. Let's get the claim. Let's get the quote exactly right. 70% of secondary school teachers, it's an important word to use, teachers now earn above $106,000. Facts, Duncan. Top of the salary scale for a trained classroom teacher is $103,086. Now, around 68% of secondary teachers are on the top step. It's pretty close to 70. Nice. This is because it's difficult to recruit new teachers. This is actually a problem. The bulk of the teachers are those with experience who have worked their way up to the top of their scale. So the reason so many teachers are near the top of that scale is because teachers are getting old and new teachers aren't coming on in the numbers they need. However, remember the claim, 70% of secondary school teachers are over $106,000. In general terms, the way to earn higher than the top of the scale is with additional responsibilities, allowances. They're called management units and middle management allowances. Teachers with those extra allowances are working in management positions. That's not your general classroom teacher salary. The unit or allowance recognizes those extra responsibilities. So 70% of secondary school teachers are not earning over $106,000. If 68% earning 103, you can't make up 70% of the last 32% to give it above 106. Now, what's going to happen is someone's going to come back to us and go splitting hairs. Well, it's 103,000 and it's 68. No. It's not the case. That's wrong. Your numbers are wrong. You said what bit of what I said wasn't right. Well, all the bullshit right-coded opinion, in my opinion, was wrong. But they did not get a 30% increase under Jacinda Ardern. They got a 22% increase, and it still didn't keep up with inflation. And they did, and 70% of teachers are not earning over $106,000. Nothing like it. And for the ones who are earning over $106,000, they're not classroom teachers. They're going to have some classroom teaching and some middle management units. So they're not classroom teachers. They're not the teachers. They're the management of the teachers. Chewy,
So come.
he wanted us to prove him wrong. We have. Forehand down the line. You're served, Mr. Garner. And actually, if you are the journalist you seem to claim you are, watch what I've done, you said, then this is where you retract and apologize because you don't want any more of this smoke. Trust us. Chewy.
Gather around, children,
Fine.
and look upon the roasted corpse of Duncan Garner. Pour one out if you have one to pour. I don't know. My whole beef with this is just how inflammatory he was in that initial clip. It was rage bait. It was absolutely right-coded news. Like, when we have enough of that,
Yeah.
like, why are you wading into a space that already has Plunkett, that already has Hoskins, that already has Woodham? Like, all of these right-wing commentators are like, yes, I have no understanding of what a teacher does, but I hate them. They're bastards because I have to get a nanny in or something. It's this punching down on people that just really gets my fucking goat. So there's been a couple of comments of like, you've picked a fight with Plunkett, now you've picked a fight with Duncan Garner. Who's next? Mike Hoskins. Let's complete the trifecta.
He's too easy. And this
Let's
is
go.
Duncan.
Let's swing for the king.
There's for Duncan. Just for when he replays it this one, right? Now you got to call him a shit cunt and then we'll sign off for the night.
I've been trying not to say it works. But he is a shit cunt. Yeah. Hi, Duncan.
Look, in all seriousness, did we start this? No, we commented on commentary that we thought was horseshit. He then responded, and we're responding to his response. And you know, have you noticed that we aren't doing Plunkett? You know, Plunkett today was still talking about the BSA. Still talking about it. And remember, and just remember, you talk about why are they competing. Again, Duncan Garner has admitted that he'd vote for Trump. He would have voted for Trump. Duncan Garner fills in on the platform. They are running in those circles.
Head injury.
Yeah, the people who have been kicked in the head by the horse audience. You know, look, I mean, will he respond? Probably. Will we respond to that? I don't know. To be honest, people talk about punching up and punching down, and people mostly talk about punching down, meaning a bigger channel on a smaller channel. But I feel like if you're talking about doing the work, not being lazy, Duncan, like you said, we've just been punching down. Because, you know, the audience that's been kicked in the head by the horse is probably being led. What is it? The one-eyed man is the ruler in the land of the blind or something. Well, you haven't been kicked in the head by the horse. Maybe you just fell off the horse and you're slightly less damaged than them. So maybe we punched down. Oh, that was so much fun. Thank you, Duncan. I needed a laugh. To explain what actually happened with the views. Duncan Garner put up 2 clips. He put up, I think, a short, which is the verticals, and he put up that clip. One of them got about 12,000 views. One of them got about 10,000 views. So he did about 22,000 views in 2 clips, which is a lot. 10,000 views per clip for a New Zealand podcast is pretty good. We in both our first teasing and our mocking that you just heard, the much smaller Duncan Garner laughing at our number of subscribers audience did over 200,000. So that's why we kind of laugh at the clap back. Our views were 10 to 1 his views. He was like, I'm going to get these guys. We're going to laugh at you. And we half the size of a podcast subscription, but did 10 times the views on those clips. This is pretty funny. It's pretty funny. All right, guys, that's us for this week. Tomorrow night, Emily's going to be along actually with a best of. Emily's doing a couple of best ofs the Fridays. So tomorrow, Friday, and the next Friday, she'll be doing that. But I will see you again on Monday night. Now, reminder, next week we've also got some thematic best ofs because we've been doing months, right? But the 12th month is Tuesday next week. So that's when December is, because tonight was October. So Wednesday next week, we're going to do best of Waitangi Day, because a lot of people have asked for it. And Thursday of next week, we're going to play the 3 pieces of content, the 3 that have got the most views on YouTube last year, 2025. So that's going to be a couple of thematic ones next week as well. But until then, enjoy one of the kids, Emily, that is. I don't think I can call her that anymore, married and all. Tomorrow night, and I'll see you Monday night for the next best of edition of Big Hearing News.